Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2021 Jayco 154Bh. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. That's where you're going to find your spare tire right here at the back. And then if we come around to the driver's side, you can get access from both sides, that is. You pull in the bumper cap. That's typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in there yet. A little bit forward from that, you do get your first stabilizer jack. There is one in all four corners of this unit. You got your 3/4 inch drive tool, hooking up to the 3/4 inch drive nut, running this foot down to the ground. Once the foot does contact the ground, just giving another 1/8 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. In addition to that, these are stabilizing jacks. They're not leveling jacks. Please don't try and use them as so. Otherwise, you do run the risk of bending them. And the same does go for if you're running them up or down with a cordless impact. Right here, you got your sewer exit. Take that cap, twist it off. Your sewer hose is going to have the same ears. You got your black tank on your right, which is going to be the one you're going to want to empty first, and then you can come behind that with your gray tank, which is on the left. Typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. This is just going to try and keep that hose that little bit cleaner. Coming a little bit forward, you got your furnace exhaust. So whenever your furnace is running, that'll be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Cable satellite inlet right here. These two ports are just fridge service ports. There's not much you need to worry about there. Right here you can see we do have your standard 30 amp cord, runs back, and it does plug into your standard 30 amp plug end. This cord is about 15 feet long once fully extended. Most campsites should have this, but let's say you have the unit at home and you want to run your fridge, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We do include that 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind whenever you are using it. It's realistically just to run your fridge and your lights. You're not going to be able to run your air conditioner off that. On the side here, you got your range flap. You're always going to want to make sure that you do have that undone for when you get to your campsite. But whenever you're traveling, you're not using the unit, try and remember to snap it back into place. That way you're not getting any excess dust inside the unit. It's also going to help keep critters out. Right here, you get your hot water service port, flipping that guy down. Whenever you first get to your campsite, you should pull that pressure relief valve. You should get that shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank is full and safe to fire up. If you don't get the water coming out of there, make sure you triple check that you do have water inside of there, because it doesn't take much to burn out that tank. You got this drain nut here. It's a 1-inch drain socket. To my left, you get your fresh water fill. So if you're out boondocking or your site just doesn't have water, just put a garden hose in there, turn it on, and that is what fills your fresh tank. You got your city water connection right down below it. So if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to automatically pressurize all your lines without needing to run your water pump. And then right down below, you do get your fresh water drain. Cracking this guy open. It's going to be how you drain all the water out of the tank. Right at the front of the unit, get your standard 20-pound propane tank. We do include this nice cover for you. It just snaps on and off like so. Typically, you don't even have to unsnap it to get it undone, but just for the purpose of the video, I will move it out of the way. Like any standard barbecue, counterclockwise to open up the flow of propane. Inside this front box here, you do have where your battery is. Now, coming around the passenger side of the unit, this is the main entryway door side. Main entryway door. You got a couple plugins on the outside in case you want to plug anything in. And then you get your one storage compartment here, cracking this guy open. Inside, that's where you're going to find your 3/4 inch drive tool for your stabilizer jacks. That is also where we have your standard starter kit. It comes with a 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, some other miscellaneous goodies, including that 15 amp park adapter. Now for the best part, we can't take a step on inside. So for the stairs, you can lift them up, pull them towards you. They lock down into place. Take your assist handle, push it up, folding at 90 degrees. That'll also lock into place and allow you to open up your door. Taking a step on inside, first thing you'll notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is pretty much just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. And then up on the right, you get your light switch on the far right. Turns on a couple main living space lights. The rest of the lights are on their own center push buttons. And then the one right beside it does do your awning LED light switch, and then you get your awning control right next to it to the left. Push that out button, awning's gonna start making its way out. Once your awning reaches its full extension, you're gonna see the little flap hang down in the back of the mount tube. Sometimes that flap can get stuck up though, so if that does happen and you start to see the back of the metal tube, just retract it a couple feet and try putting it back out again, just to get that flap to come down. So there you go, you got that flap start to come down, of course the back of the metal tube. Now if it were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now if you like that angle better, because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you could do the same thing with the front arm, just making sure that you do push these arms back to straight before you go to bring your awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. To bring the awning in, it is quite as simple as pushing the in button, making sure that awning rolls the right way in, and once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motors will automatically come out. Cut out. 12-volt power supply. It says for TV only, of course. So if you want to mount a TV, this is going to be probably the wall you're going to want to do it on. Light switches, plugins. Down below, you got your stereo. It's pretty much just like home, minus the fact of Zone 1 and Zone 2. Zone 1 will be your interior speakers. Zone 2 will be the 2 speakers that are on your awning. Storage all around, of course, just whenever you're using storage throughout this unit, be mindful of drains, water lines, and things like that. This cushion here, if you pull her out of the way, slide the base over as well. There'll be a little trap door here, lifting that guy up. That is where you get access to your bypass valves for your water heater. And that's also where you get your water pump access for winterization. Stick all that back in place. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. Now let's say that you have a couple more extra guests that can't go into the bunks. You can take your tabletop, remove the feet from remove the table legs from the bottom, set your tabletop on its desired ledges. You can take your back cushions to fill in the center, and you could have yourself another bed. Just like I said, storage all around, and there's going to be lots of lights that are on their own center push buttons. In this kitchen space here, you got your fridge. Popping that guy open, the controls for that are all up top. Pull on that tab because it is on a latch. Right down below, you got this little silver fin here. The further you slide this silver or the plastic tab up the fin, the cooling fin, the colder the fridge will get. Freezer up top. Controls up top, turning it on. Whenever you're in the auto setting, that's with this button flush. It's going to first search for shore power. Once shore power is taken away, it'll automatically switch over to gas. With that being said, it's very important whenever you first get to your campsite, or if you're trying to fire up something gas, I always recommend firing up the stove first thing, as that's going to purge the system in case there was any air into the lines. Because if it wasn't purged and you try to fire up your fridge, your water heater, or anything else like that, including your furnace, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times. If they don't sense a flame, it could throw a fault code. So let's say you switch this over to gas because you're traveling. If you didn't first purge the system and make sure that this was actually lit before you left, it wouldn't actually light, and it would just beep and beep and beep. And if you're inside your car, you wouldn't hear it. So just making sure that that system's purged before you try to fire it up on gas is going to save you a lot of headaches. If you want it to run solely on gas because you're out boondocking, you just have to depress that button. This fridge will try lighting itself 3 times. As long as it lights eventually, which I just heard it did, nothing will come of it. But if this check light were to ever be on, that's just letting you know that it didn't fire up on propane. I would try firing it a second time before you start jumping to see if there's a problem. You got your main GFI plug on the wall. You got test down below, reset up top. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would look. And then you got your monitor panel system up top. Pushing the button will tell you the corresponding level. You got your water pump switch, turning that on. That is what draws out of your fresh tank. And then you got your water heater. You can fire that on either gas or electric. And like I said, if you do fire it on gas, the water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this fault light's going to come on. In that case, you do just have to turn this button off, give it about a minute, and then try turning it back on, because again, it could just be a purging issue. And if you go to fire up your water heater on electric, just triple check that the tank is already full, because even a few seconds with that element out of water could allow it to burn out. So we don't want that. It gets pretty pricey. Microwave up top, range hood down below. Whenever you run your stove, I always recommend running your range hood. That way you're evacuating those propane fumes. And because we're talking about propane fumes, you got your LP detector right here. If that guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit, open up some windows and vents, get some fresh oxygen inside of here. You got your main circuit breaker panel here. Whenever breaker trips, they'll sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. You'll have all your corresponding fuses on the right. This is going to be the thermostat, but this is just going to be to light your furnace. It's not going to be to control your air conditioner. So you pull that tab to the left. That's going to engage the furnace. Of course, if you had the temperature selected, the temperature selector is down below. Clicking it to the right is going to be turning it off. Come into your stove. Like I said, I'm always going to recommend firing this before you do try to fire anything else. Knob here. This will be fixed before time of pickup. We're just currently in the mix of doing something quickly. So like this, it's pretty simple. Just turning it over to the high/light option. But of course, you do have to have a lighter handy. And of course, I forgot to bring mine just now. So just turning over the high/light option. But whenever you're running that gas valve, being safe while doing so, it is a gas stove. Once propane starts flowing through, it is combustible. So if we were to have a buildup of it, there could be a minor combustion. So just be safe while doing so whenever you're turning the gas valve on, making sure you have a lighter nearby. If you walk by and you smell gas and you notice this is off or on, just make sure that you don't light anything. Otherwise, again, there could be a small combustion. Your furnace does push all its air out of this vent here, so you can decide how you position it and where you want it to go. Storage all on your left, and right above my head, you do get your air conditioner. There's a bunch of different options on the sides and on the back. When you open up these guys, that's deciding where the flow is going for air. Controls right here. The first few settings, that's just going to be moving air around when it's pointed towards the gray section. Just moving air around using the air conditioner, no cooling involved. Once you get to the blue setting, that's when the air conditioning takes into effect. That's high. Then you got low. Cycle it back over to this side to turn it off. You got your temperature selector here. You're going to notice there is a red setting here. It's not actually hooked up to anything. That would just be if there was a heat pump installed, which there isn't on this unit. So again, just leave it on the cold setting. That's best option. You got more louvers down below. This is what we call the quick dump. So if you open up these guys, close all these guys, it'll dump all its air straight down. You got your 2 bunk spaces. And then opening up this door, you get into your bathroom. Pretty standard bathroom inside of here. Toilet, shower. Above my head, you do have a vent lid clockwise to open up that guy. And if you're going to notice, you do open straight up into the atmosphere. So if it were to start raining, it's going to get wet inside of here. Unless, of course, you went with a max air cover, which we do sell here at the shop. Our parts department can help you get put together a quote for that. It's a cover that goes over top here. It's going to keep things dry inside whenever it rains if you left it open. And of course, it'll give you that extra protection against hail. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.